Like I said, police tend to be action-oriented and direct. This helps them cope with everyday offenders, conflict, law enforcement issues. In these specific situations, they need patient, gentle, and reflective. That means a dramatic shift in their attitude when they're faced with a suicidal person. Police are presented with tools and training through their departments in order to approach a situation appropriately. They are presented with knowledge of suicide, the nature of suicidal behavior. They are taught the facts of suicide as well as the myths of suicide. They are trained on how to intervene and are also presented on a series of behavioral do's and don'ts. They have role plays of suicidal individuals. Police training programs have demonstrated their worth. Police need empathy and less distress when it comes to these specific situations. Joe, did you have a question?
Are you doing the right thing in going up to Bert?
I think taking action is always the best choice. I believe as long as you stay on guard and you're at a safe enough distance, you can help someone if you put yourself, you can help someone without putting yourself in danger. I believe especially in this situation, it's important for it to be a little more personal than shouting from an intercom of a speaker with a bunch of media and crowds of nosy people looking and listening. Training and experience is going to benefit the situation, but having true compassion and empathy is going to make a lasting impression and mark on Bert if I'm successful in talking him down. The situation can go from bad to good in just a few moments, as well as going from bad to worse, just as easily, but it is worth the life of this man to at least try. Joe, would you personally go up to Bert, or would you yell from the speaker?
I think personally, I would attempt the same tactic that they used in that case study.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's safer or more successful chance of saving the person because, potentially you could even grab them if they tried jumping or something at the last moment.
Okay.
And you could also make eye contact with them, which I think is critical.
Yeah.
And you have more tone in your voice instead of using an intercom.
Okay. All right, great. Did you have another question for me?
I have another question.
Sure.
Assuming you are successful in getting close to Bert, what should you say or do?
If I was successful in getting up to Bert, I would be careful in what I say and what I do. Like I said earlier, police are trained in do's and don'ts of what to say or what not to say. I would tell Bert that there are people who care about him. I wouldn't be specific. For example, I wouldn't say your wife loves you, and Bert could possibly say that's why he's up there because he's getting divorced. And then he has nothing left. I just made the situation worse by specifically bringing someone up. And if I got Bert talking, I would ask why he's doing this. I think the way he answers would be the deciding factor on what I would say or do next. I don't want to assume I know what is wrong. I think listening is going to be the most important thing to do with Bert or any person that's in that position. I would express that today is today and tomorrow is a new day. I would choose to share a dark time in my life. I would show him that I can relate to him and imply he can get better too. If I can put myself in his shoes, I can truly feel his pain. And while sad, it can help me understand him better. If I can understand him better, I can help him better. I need to get on a personal level with him if I want him to open up to me. If we can relate to each other, I can share how I cope with things and give him suggestions on how he could cope with something. If I'm truly listening to Bert, I truly believe I can help him. I'm not trying to gain his trust to get my job done or just to get home quicker. I'm doing it because I genuinely care about human life. I would bring up the gardening or something he may mention. It's important to establish a sense of common ground with him. Joe, do you think Do you think assuming you know it's about his job is a good idea or a bad idea to bring up to him?
I'm actually not sure. I think bringing it up might be okay, as long as you try to maintain positives. And I know you said something about landscaping, so I'm assuming he might be a landscaper. And if he's good at it, there's probably hundreds of other jobs and opportunities out there for him.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it could be too bad if you try to show him
Okay.
positive steps.
Did you have another question for me?
I do have another question
Okay.
for you. Deanna,
Yes.
do you think the crowd is creating a confusing situation for Bert?
I do. I believe typically anytime a crowd is created and it keeps growing, it's most likely going to be challenging. People tend to act out or show off when others are around. Not only do crowds grow, but so does the negativity. They all feed off of each other, and Bert may become confused, especially when some are trying to help, some are encouraging him to jump. He could have so many different things running through his head, like, they're right, I should just jump. What am I waiting for? They already think I'm a coward, I might as well prove that I'm not, or prove that I am. I'm already up here, might as well give them what they want. Things like that. So I can imagine while he's still being surrounded by tons of people, he's feeling isolated and probably feeling more alone than ever. And that may be the most confusing for him. And I know you had another question.
How would you deal with the crowd and the press?
I don't believe the media cares about the well-being of Bert. They care about being on the scene first, overhearing something first, so they can break news first. While some of the people in the crowd may actually care, most are just being nosy and following suit. It would be important to secure the scene and block off a safe amount of distance between the people and Bert. The media should and will be treated like anyone else. I would call for more backup, and when it comes to dealing with the crowd, I would want as many officers there as possible. They're needed for crowd control. With that being said, they will be backed up to a safe distance. If they go beyond the secured area or continue to yell, they will be arrested for disturbing the peace or disorderly conduct or interference with a police officer in performance of their duties. The other officers can focus on the crowd control while I put my focus on Bert. Now that I've chosen to go up there for both our safety, I need more quiet and room so Bert can only hear me. I believe this is very important. It can be the reason for jumping off or the reason for climbing down. I thought about saying if there was one thing I would like the audience to take away from this would be, but I couldn't say that because it's not just one thing, it's a million things. A million little things that are consuming and confusing for the person battling them. So it's for sure more confusing and baffling for anyone that's approaching them as well, and they need proper training in order to do so. When someone decides to choose death over life, it's a last desperate attempt to escape an unbearable suffering. And you have to be able to put yourself in their shoes and understand that in order to talk them down. They're feeling hopeless. They see no other relief besides death. We need to be the strong ones when faced with such a situation. We need to be sincere. We need to be empathetic. We need to have compassion. We need to be patient. We need to offer hope, and we need to be educated. When faced with this type of situation, it is up to us. Their lives are literally in our hands at that moment as police officers. So the scenario can go kind of many different ways. It's just kind of left open at the end of the case study. So in my mind, I climb up to Bert on a separate ladder, but near him, so we're not shouting, but we can have an intimate and meaningful conversation. I would say, hey Bert, it's Deanna Corby, remember me? I've stopped by, I really enjoy your gardening. I would then ask Bert why he's doing this. I would tell him that people care about him. I would tell Bert how I fell into deep depression after my second child's birth. I would explain to him that I was a walking zombie. I would tell him I was paranoid that I truly believed the world and my family and friends were better off without me. I would tell Bert how a woman I hardly knew saw me one day and recognized the look of hopelessness in my eyes. And she showed me I was not alone, and she was me just a year before. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, I was tired of all the different medications. Then one day I found one that made me feel normal, because I never thought I'd feel normal again. I would tell Bert how music and exercise and talking helped me out of the darkness. I would explain to Bert if I had made a different decision that day, I wouldn't have all the memories that I've had over the years with my family and friends. I wouldn't be waking up looking forward to the days ahead of me. I would tell him all the sadness that my boyfriend, myself, and his family were left with this weekend because of the darkness taking his mom. I would tell him I'm his stranger and that I can help him. I can't promise him it will get better in a day or two, and I'm not going to make promises I can't keep to him. I will tell them that it will get easier eventually, and I will open my mind and heart up to Bert. We will walk back down the ground together. Bert will have some challenges along the way, but he will fight and succeed. He will excel at whatever he puts his mind to, and Bert will help someone else because he gets it. He was there and he survived.